Current affairs needs, we talk about the pertinent issues in the country now. The Ogun State Police Command paraded 3 dismissed police officers over the their alleged involvement in armed robbery around Ijebu-Ode. Right now, the State Commissioner of Police Abiodun Alomutu, he said this while he was briefing newsmen over the success of the state's command in fighting crime, criminalities at the headquarters in Abeokuta. Now, he explained the entire situation, and I'll break it down for you. Apparently, one Mr. Kashi Mao of Tai Solaring University of Education, Ijagun, in Osun State, reported that on the 12th of January 2024, about 8:45 a.m., 3 police officers or 4 individuals accosted him while he was driving and forced him to transfer 312,000 naira from his account into another OPay account. Now, he said that the 4 people who accosted him, 3 of them wore mufti, just casual everyday clothes, and one of them had a round neck police camouflage shirt. Now, these people demanded for his phone, and he calmly declined. And in the process, after he calmly declined, one of them fired a shot in the air. Of course, that scared him like it would scare anybody else. And then he complied after that happened. After which, all of them entered his car, and then they led him to a different location, and they got him to make the transfer of the 312,000 naira from his account to theirs. Okay, which it was actually not their account, it was an OPay account. And after he had reported to the police station, the police decided to find out whose account it was. They did their investigations. They found out that it belonged to a POS operator, and then they told the POS operator, they ordered the POS operator not to give out the money when whoever comes to claim it, right? He should stall so that they can find the people. And lo and behold, it turns out that there were police officers of the law, right? Now, you will think that this is the only situation where this happened. But no, this was in Ogun. Another 2 officers of the Nigerian police force were dismissed for armed robbery, corruption, and illegal duty, alongside some vigilante group members, armed with 2 submachine SMG rifles and live ammunition. Now, these officers and their counterparts went ahead to storm a residence in Obada Oko community in Ogun State, same Ogun State, at about 10 p.m. on November the 23rd last year. They searched the apartment belonging to one Mr. Taiwo Monsuru and Akintola Sunday. Of course, without any warrant. And they made away with 5 iPhones, 1 Samsung smartphone, 1 Techno smartphone, 2 laptop computers. And no, I am not, giving you this breakdown in order to scare anyone. Or to say that the entire Nigerian police force is bad. No. Of course, there are always going to be some strays here and there, and and there are going to be bad people. If the entire police force was completely terrible, I doubt that there'll be anybody that would catch this, apprehend these officers and, try them, dismiss them, then charge them to court, which of course all of them are currently in court at the moment. Now, the essence of this conversation is to highlight that there is a problem, and that problem is imminent. We have a security problem in Nigeria. We have an insecurity problem in Nigeria, and we need to address it. It's very, very sad to hear that police officers cannot be trusted. We need to outline some of the reasons why we are where we are. Why are we at this point where the people who have been trained by the Nigerian police force, given weapons by the Nigerian police force in order to what? To care for the people, to protect the people, are now the ones turning around to harm them? How did we get there? we need to address these issues. It's very sad to hear that police officers cannot be trusted. The other night we were driving after I closed from work, and we saw a build up of traffic, and I and our driver, we were feeling very we were freaking out, because it's not normal that at that hour of the night there will be traffic. And we found out, there was a police checkpoint. There was a police checkpoint mounted up, and they were searching people, normal stop and search, but it wasn't usually in that location. How can the average Nigerian be able to tell the difference between a police operative who is doing a stop and search routine check in order to protect them, and the ones that are stopping them to rob them? Because now we have rogues, we have police officers that have gone rogue. I mean, a soldier went viral just last week for complaining that his salary wasn't enough to transport him to visit his family and then report to the station. I hope we do remember that. But if we didn't remember it, let me joggle your memory a little bit.
Nigeria may give me pass as I do 1 year from Edugri today. Now they give me pass, make I go and go see my family. My way to as I come up for bush now I reach park. They tell me say from here to my town 35,000. Now I come calculate 35,000 going and come back, that is 70,000. And 50,000, not even my salary, what they pay me for this month. But I not give option again. No. I go back to.
And that video went viral. There were several comments on the matter. Nigerians calling on, armed forces, the chief of army staff. What is going on? These are the people that are putting their own lives in danger for our sakes, for our safety, and they cannot afford to go and see their families. Doesn't it just break your heart that is the situation? What can be done? How can we come out of this situation? How did Nigeria get here? Is this a problem that we have always had? Are we going to make excuses for these people to say, your lives are difficult, so of course it's an excuse for you to carry out crime? No, of course not. That's not what we are doing. But should we also, ignore the harsh realities on ground? Even police officers aren't well paid, and the condition of most of their barracks are beyond pathetic. So as much as we are condemning those that are going rogue, should we ignore the harsh realities that are on ground? Of course, you can join the conversation via WhatsApp on 0700010961961. Please drop a message there for us. It's 0700010961960 010-961-961. You could also join our live stream on YouTube. It's Voice of the People Abuja. There's a live stream going on there. You could drop a comment, and of course you can still use the number 0700-010-961-961 to join the conversation. How has the increase in hardship, how has the harsh realities on ground, the prevalence of poverty, how has it aided crime in Nigeria to the point where we are having, police officers involve themselves in crime? Everybody knows that crime rates increase with the prevalence of poverty. Now, most of these people, they can't afford to eat or feed their families. And if they don't have discipline or, the fear of God, what would stop them from getting into crime? I mean, as much as we're condemning the armed robbers, let's not forget the system that is deliberately turning them into criminals. And I'm saying deliberately because tell me how you would, employ people and not pay them enough. Let's give a good example to that. The case of the 2 constabulary officers that were asking Ichibut for money. If we remember them, these guys.
Give me money. Sir? Money.
Exactly. Now, they were fired and it went viral. But then allegedly, these people were not paid for 3 years. 3 years. Now, this is what they had to say. It's in Yoruba language. I'll translate when we get back.
3 months, 3 years, ọdún kẹta oṣù mẹ́ta láti dàbáyà àsìgbà sálárì kan.
Wà ní station tí wọ́n dẹ̀ ń post wa láti máa lọ ṣiṣẹ́ káàkiri.
Practically, what they said in Yoruba language is they are still being owed salaries or allowances 3 years and 3 months. 3 years and 3 months. I mean, let's look at it now. How is it fair? And isn't it convenient that the same police force that dismissed them so proudly forgot to mention that they hadn't paid these officers their wages for that long, and even after firing them, they weren't paid for their time in service. They also said in the interview where we got, that dub from, they said that they were also detained for 17 days, and even while they were detained, they were feeding themselves. These are people that after you didn't pay them for 3 years and 3 months, you were still sending them out to do jobs. You're still posting them to places to do jobs. Responsibility in service is a two-way street, right? If you treat people right, then they would act right. I mean, you can only give them the right tools and expect them to follow suit. You cannot say, oh, I'm going to train you, and I'm going to give you arms, and I'm going to give you uniforms, and I'm going to deploy you to meet with civilians to protect them and not pay these people, or at least pay them well. Even if you're not paying them well, pay them now. Look at that military man, for example, that is being paid 50,000 naira a month. He has been in the bush fighting insurgency, fighting crime, trying to keep us safe. This man has been released to go and see his family on a holiday. Great, beautiful. But he can't even afford transportation because it takes him 35,000 naira to go and 35,000 naira to come back. That's just transportation. We've not mentioned feeding. He's going to see his family. Of course, he has been working. They would be expecting something from him. And these aren't the only people in this situation. Constabularies in Nigeria have been complaining for years about being owed their stipends and allowances. These are people that were recruited and trained by the federal government to support the police by assisting them in community policing. They trained them, they gave them police uniforms, they gave them weapons to fight insecurity in the grassroots. Some of them, they are mounting roadblocks. Some of them are stationed in different places. And then, according to the general number one of the Oyo State chapter of the Special Constabulary, that's Tofik Akinpelu, he said only 2 states pay salaries of their constabularies and that is in Nigeria, and that is Akwa Ibom and Lagos State, and then that Abuja also gives stipends. Many of them have gone to approach their state governors for them to pay. And the governors will tell them to work that, oh, you work for the federal government. It's the federal government that recruited you, so the federal government will pay you. So now the question to the federal government is, why would you arm these people? Why would you promise them jobs and then not pay them? If you remember, in 2022, police constabularies protested in Osun State that they weren't paid for 18 months. 3 of their members died on duty while being owed. They've still not been paid. Some of them even cried out, and they were saying it was so bad that Okada riders, no offense to Okada riders, but they were saying Okada riders were snatching their wives because they didn't have money to take care of their families. Now, in the same year, 2022, we had over 1,000 constabularies hit the road and protest in Kwara State. That incident went very viral. And, the then Commissioner of Police said that, they weren't part of the police force. They are not owed any salaries because it was a voluntary position that they took. And then when you think about that, you're like, a voluntary voluntary position. Let's look at it. Is it not confusing? Because how do you explain recruiting people, training them, having them hold full-time positions, and then for free? Because you're sending these people, you're deploying them. Like Falz the rapper said, this story no dey add up. It's not just adding up. These people say that you promise them stipends and allowances, which only makes sense. But then you are not even paying them those allowances. You're not even paying them those stipends. The question we're asking here is, where is that money going to? Because if you check it, there is an allocation for these allowances and there is an allocation for these stipends. So where is it? The economy is biting hard enough. Everybody is feeling the heat. People are protesting left, right, and center. Just today in Kwara State, we had young in Mina rather. We had youths and women coming out to protest to say, "Hey, there's no money. Things are expensive. We can't handle it." Go out and look at the number of people that are trekking in the streets. Just here in Abuja, you see a lot of people covering. Oh, from this junction to this junction, let me just trek so that from the other junction to the other junction, I can take a cab. Voice of the People did a little bit of research, went into the streets, asked people questions. We had people saying, "Oh, we are working shifts now. I'm sleeping in the office for 3 days, and then the next 3 days other people will come." People are cap. An old iPhone XR is going for about 300,000 naira and above, and we still have people sitting down and saying that the problem of Nigeria is women buying human hair wigs, which we will deal with in subsequent episodes. But then I digress. Is this a time? How do we make sense of people volunteering full-time for several years, people with families and responsibilities? I mean, is this the time to face the elephant in the room or bury our heads in the sand and continue trying to be politically correct? Are these the only people that we should be worried about? I wish they were. There are several teachers that have not been paid for several months. There are several doctors and healthcare workers that have not been paid, which is one of the leading causes of the large increase in migration in that sector and is leading to us losing lives. People are, not having adequate doctors and healthcare workers to take care of them when they're in their ill health. Although, of course, we know that it doesn't really bother the president, because he lackadaisically said, "Oh, we should turn our faces away from it because we will train more professionals and even, send them. We will supply professionals to other countries." What is wrong with Nigeria? Where are we getting it wrong? Because basically the message now that the government is sending is we don't have to do right by the people we already have available. We can treat them however it is they want to be treated, because we have the numbers. We will pay. We would always replace them anyway. How then do we hope to build a functional economy? How then can we boost productivity in Nigeria? Let's take some of your comments. Here we have Christian. Christian says the government of Nigeria is the state of wickedness. Can we say that? John Lembo says, this is so shameful. On the other hand, Nigerian politicians own private jets. We're going to come to that eventually. And Habaram 58 from Lube says, the patience of Nigerians should be in the Guinness World Book of Records. Mr. Lil Gaga says, thank you, Mama. In Nigeria, the security of the nation is in the hands of hungry people, and that makes me speechless. Anonymous says, when you have incompetent and illegitimate people in power, these are some of the outcomes. A failed state is what Nigeria is. We have to rise up against the rogue system. And then again, I ask, how do you intend to rise up? Because no, this is not the time to take up sticks and stones. We also have a responsibility as the people of Nigeria to make sure that we demand accountability from the government. We demand accountability and transparency from the government. And where does it start from? We've had this conversation on this show before. It starts from the grassroots. You have to be able to hold the politicians, the ones you can hold, you can see, hold them accountable. If you put pressure on your local government chairman, if you put pressure on the people in your state house of assemblies, put pressure on them, they will bring the pressure that you are putting on them on the political class, on the National Assembly. The National Assembly will carry it to where you're supposed to carry it to. Put the pressure put that same pressure on them. But no, what we want to do is go to their houses and tell them we want to marry new wives. Tell them our wives are pregnant, they should give us money. And then where do you expect them to keep getting that money from? Are we not also the cause of our own problem? Ifechi says, this has been going on for decades. I visited Nigeria from the UK with a cousin, and we were both arrested for armed robbery. Note, I was born and raised in the UK and visiting for Christmas. The only reason I'm alive today was because the person we were meeting, which was a friend of my cousin, was a customs officer, and he came late to the meeting place. And us not being there, he saw my cousin's car and asked the locals where we were, and they said we were taking to the police station, and he went there and got us. Very sad situation. Very, very sad situation. We have this other comment says, how much are senators, governors, and ministers receiving? How can a soldier be receiving 50,000 naira? It's a shocking development, really. Tony Wako says, inequality in Nigeria is the worst in the whole world because of the greed and insensitivity of our politicians, and you still wonder why crime is at such high levels in the country. Tony, do I completely agree with what you're saying at this point? I wouldn't say I completely do, because it takes two to tango. Yes, of course, they are playing a very big role and they have responsibilities. We also have responsibilities to keep ourselves safe. We owe it to ourselves to be vigilant. How vigilant have you been? I'm going to go back to the incident that happened in Buhari a couple of weeks back, last month. Everybody kept talking about how, it was a very terrible situation and whatnot. And what we fail to see is, if 20 people show up in your neighborhood a night before, 20 strange people in your community, ask questions. It's your community. Ask questions. Ask questions. Mount the pressure. There's an amount of pressure you will mount on the people that are supposed to protect you, and they are going to have to do their jobs. Let's check some of your comments on X. Queen Bee, the real Queen Bee, says 50,000 naira. What? That is less than 30 pounds for a complete month. That means he earns less than £1 per day as salary for a soldier that is putting his life on a line, while a cleaner in the UK earns £10 42 per hour as minimum wage. You can do the math. Shame on the government. I mean, do we have to do this comparisons all the time? I don't think so. But again, I do think that we need to see it. Have to do the comparisons. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Now we have at Obija 20,001. In as much as I respect our security personnel, it's against the ethics of the military personnel to come on social media and disgrace their institution. Nobody forced you to be there. If you're tired, resign and come back to the streets. Did you say to become a kidnapper? This is ridiculous. Well, that's your comment, but of course, no, I wouldn't advise that. The right thing should be done. The right thing should be done. How can we productivity if we don't get the basics like paying our wages right? Sometime in November, we had non-clinical staff of University College Hospital in Ibadan. They said they were owed, at the time, they were owed salaries for 34 months, which is, over 2 years. And all those people have responsibilities, including family members. And just in case you're wondering why I keep saying they have family members, it's because we cannot ignore, neither can we overemphasize the role of the smallest unit of the society, which is the family. If parents cannot provide the basic needs of their children, they are under pressure. And a man doesn't know what he's capable of doing till he's being pushed to the wall most of the time. If a parent is trying to, do good work, do hard work, leave his hands clean, get the right things, and he is not being paid, he's being owed, what do you expect the child to do when he comes of age? You think he's going to go back into the same civil service? You think he's going to try to do well? You think he's going to try to... Because people learn in this jet age, young people are learning from what they see, not what you are telling them. You're telling them to be honest, but is there really a reward for that honest living that you're trying to ask them to do? Is there a reward? Are they seeing that, oh, if I do this, I'm going to get something good out of it. I'm going to get something positive out of it. Or are they seeing that, people that are doing well are suffering because they're seeing their parents suffer? And we all know the pressure that Nigerian senators are receiving a 13.5 million naira monthly allowance. That's beside their salaries. And that's even before we start to talk about the increased constituency allowance, which of course if we start to dig into that, are they really using these monies to develop their constituencies, or are they not? How do we want to grow when we are paying a handful of people so much money and the majority of people absolutely nothing? And no, I am not talking about people that are earning little. We are not even talking about the fact that you are paying them little. We are saying the people that have worked should be paid. If we actually expect crime rates to go down, it's about time we do something about this situation. We cannot keep going like that. We can't run a country like it's banana republic. We can't do that and expect prosperity and expect to grow. Let's look at what happened in China. Let's look at what other civilizations that went through similar circumstances as we did. Even India, what did they do to turn around? And now I'm posing this question to the everyday Nigerian person. It's very easy to point the finger and say, hey, you're doing something wrong. But look inward. What are we doing? What are we doing to help the situation that we are in? How are we helping the Naira to do better? How are we strengthening our resolve not to get into crime? Of course, there are reasons why some people do this, but two wrongs cannot make it right. If you are in the wrong, you're going to suffer for it. So we have to look for a way to help ourselves. Like I would always say, be vigilant. Install electric lights outside of your houses. Be vigilant. Know your neighbor. We can't keep doing this high fence thing and expecting, that we would be safe and secure overnight. Strike your best to stay safe. I see no reason why you're walking into a taxi, and when you're in the taxi, you are making loud phone calls and conversations about how much money you have. People are going through a lot. You're rubbing in their faces.